Hello, this video deals with what happens when you die, or after you die, I suppose. There are two main beliefs that I have, and both of them could be correct upon different circumstances, I suppose. The first one is easy, is that it's nothingness. It's the same thing you were thinking before you were born. It's the same thing that was happening before you were born. When consciousness exists, it really can't function when it tries to imagine what it would be like to not have consciousness. You can see a person die and your consciousness will recognize the person dying. But for them, when consciousness fades, that's it. And you can't self-recognize. You wouldn't know. You can't know nothing. That's about as easily as I can put it, but it's difficult for the human mind to function without foundation, and that's definitely without foundation. The second part, a little bit better, a little more favorable, I suppose you could say, is that it needs a few points here, so I'll start from the beginning. Is in the movie Waking Life, if you've ever seen it, if not I suggest it, there's a scene where it describes how the brain stays alive for so many minutes after you die. They say 7 to 13, I believe, and this is how people can be brought back to life. If they die, there's so many minutes there when the body seems to shut down that the brain stays active, and then they can restart your heart or something like that. Well, okay, so there's that point. There's also that your brain wants to stay alive. It's a basic instinct, fight or flight. It's means of survival. Your brain wants to stay alive. There's that point. And then the other point is that your brain can control time. I guess the best means of that is, have you ever had a dream in between snooze buttons where your alarm and then you snooze and then your alarm goes off again? That seems to be longer than just that 9 to 10 minutes. Or if you've ever been dreaming and the dream seems like it lasts months and you just wake up from an 8-hour rest or whatever. It seems that in your dream state, your subconscious self doesn't perceive time as it is going on in your conscious state. With those 3 points, I believe when you die, those 7 to 13 minutes is the eternity. Your brain will do everything it can to stay alive by slowing time. And since there's nothing else for your brain to do, like keep your heart going or breathing or anything that happens on its own, it's much, I guess you'd say, stronger, much more sensitive. So it's able to stretch those 7 to 13 minutes into a seeming eternity. Or maybe it eventually fades out to nothing. Again, that could work as well, I suppose. But this could explain, or to me does explain, why people see God after they die, or they see a light. If you grew up Christian or whatever religion, I'm partial to Christianity because that's what I was, of course. I was a Christian. And you spend your whole life believing in this God, this white light, it makes sense that it's what you're going to see when you die. And if they revive you, of course, you say you saw God, or you saw Jesus, or you saw an angel. That all makes sense. That's not proof to me, because it's of course what you dream about. I dream about my hobbies that I have every night, and it doesn't answer anything to me. Another point, which is a little more valid but still has an answer to, is that a person, I guess there was a case once, like I said, I'm not going to cite anything. Religion doesn't cite anything except their Bible, so I don't feel like I need to cite anything, but you can be the judge of that, I suppose. That there was a man who died who, when he came back to life, so many minutes later in the hospital, that he saw he was in empty space. And he had this angel come back to him, and he pleaded for him to, pleaded for himself to be alive and send him back. And there was this little girl, or this lady, this woman, I don't know her age, that drew the same picture he saw when he died. And so this must be proof of heaven. If she saw it and he saw it when he died, then this makes sense. Like, well, that would be kind of against, or not necessarily against, but it would answer more the collective unconscious. When he dies, his consciousness is quite a bit stronger, as I mentioned before. And what she saw, maybe she was in a meditative state or dreaming, and they just saw the same image. It's not unlikely. Or to me, it doesn't seem improbable or impossible that would happen. So again, not something that I would rely on for proof of this heaven. So those are the 2 points, is that either your mind stretches out to eternity or it's nothingness. And you can't be afraid of nothingness, you can't hate nothingness, because even when nothingness happens, your consciousness, your brain won't be there to tell you there's nothingness. There will not be any emotion. So I don't fear death, I don't worry about dying, and there's no worry of this judgment and heaven and hell. I know what will happen when I die. Or I believe. No, I'm pretty sure. It seems logical, it seems possible. It seems like there's even proof behind it with some stories you hear from people that have been brought back to life. And not proof of heaven. But to me, that's what happens when you die. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah, check out the other videos if there are any up. This is my first one, other than the introduction. So enjoy. Thank you.